Howdy, this is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on April the 21st in the year of our Lord 2026. I've got a lot of good information for you tonight, so let me just click Murtech on Rumble here. Come over here to my Rumble channel. Let me slide down here. This is the video we're going over, episode 1894. My live stream. Let's go ahead and jump into that. Video, we're pause that and close out the live chat. Slide down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. We have information from Dan Bongino, American Center for Law and Justice, Doug in Exile, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do need to give a shout out here to Mark Newt, just started following my channel, and Donna Perella just started following me. I'm not sure what the difference is where they're following my channel and following you. What the difference is there, but thank you both for following me and my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Fisher C45 reposted my daily news wrap up from last night. Debbie BS reposted my video episode 1893. Patio Furniture 63 commented on my daily news wrap up. Bev112 commented on my episode 1881. Uncloudy and Debbie BS commented on my episode 1883. Fisher C45 commented on my extra 674A. Debbie BS commented on my extra 676A. And Cottonball 31 commented on my extra 676C. So thank you very much, folks, for reposting my videos and your comments. I certainly enjoy reading them, and I definitely appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There we go. Alrighty. And I have one of those thumbs up icons here right below the video you're watching. So if you slide down and poke that with your finger or tap it with your mouse, that would be great. Okay, here we go. Dan Bongino, A Credible and Grave Threat. Episode 2499. Let's see what that's all about.
Media figures, and I let the Democrats also tell you what they're going to do to you in November, okay? You're going to get an impeachment of Donald Trump. You're going to get a packing of the Supreme Court. Your taxes are going to go through the roof. You're going to get a wealth tax. You're going to lose your property rights. Censorship's going to be back. I wouldn't be surprised if COVID vaccine mandates come back. All of it. Everything is open season again, okay? Here's Kyle Smith in a tweet. You know, not known as a particular flame-throwing, bomb-throwing guy. He's warning everyone, too, about this, that there's a significant chance that the next time the Democrats are in charge, with even 51 Senate seats, that they implement a, quote, breathtaking power grab of the kind that would have made FDR blanch. FDR was a Democrat president for the Franklin Delano Roosevelt. There's some liberals watching. I'm sorry. They may not know what that means. They may think it's a drive up in New York. It is, but it's named after someone. That happened to me one time. I lived in Queens. Someone asked me a question last night about signers of the Declaration of Independence. I was talking about Francis Lewis and a couple of people in Queens, and I had no idea who he was. Folks, it's coming. It's going to make the 2020 to 2024 Biden presidency, which I could make a case to you was as bad, potentially worse than the Obama years. I know that's saying a lot. The thing is, Obama was a better politician than Biden. I mean, the things he did was evil. The whole DEI push, just the weaponization of government. The thing about that was Biden was just too dumb to just stop this out of control weaponization, even when the politics forced him out of the race. Obama at least tried to be more tactical while deliberately destroying the country. So I don't know who's worse. You can argue it out in the chat. I really don't. Was it Obama or Biden? Factor out the years that Obama was in charge for twice as long. I'm not sure who was worse. I'm just telling you, if we lose the November elections, what's coming is going to make that look like a picnic. It really is. The Democrats have just thrown caution to the wind and are going for it. Now, listen, you doubt me? Fine. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Doubt is healthy. We bring receipts on this show. Yesterday, we hinted at this. Here's the actual audio of James Carville, a respected, not on our side, but on the left, the guy's a lunatic, a respected on the left Democrat consultant advising the Democrats if they win in November to just, quote, they can eat our dust and just go for it. But I want you to listen to the things he's talking about going for. This is insanity. Check this out.
The Democrats win the presidency in both houses of Congress. I think on day one, they should make Puerto Rico, D.C. a state, and they should expand the Supreme Court to 13. Fuck it, eat our dust. They've done everything they could. They held up the 2000 election. They stole it. They've stolen Supreme Court seats. They've gerrymandered everything that you can. And the only way to fight this is don't run on it. Don't talk about it. Just do it. Just, okay, we got 54 senators and we got 13 court members. Thank you. Goodbye. Because you're not going to get a fair shake any kind of way in this system. 18% of the United States elects 52 senators. Well, you're not going to make it equitable, but you'll make it better by adding Puerto Rico and D.C.
Add Puerto Rico and D.C., we never get the Senate back. We would lose the House if we lose Virginia. Maybe we could still pull it off, but it would be difficult. Also, they'll pack the courts to make sure that you can't sue to stop any of this stuff because the liberal Supreme Court would be packed with more liberals. They're talking about adding potentially 4 more seats to the Supreme Court. They're just talking about it openly. Don't take my word for it. If you're a liberal lunatic, one of these people who watches our show, like these Media Matters, a-holes who, one day thought they were relevant, but I used to call them media doesn't matter because their media doesn't matter. They watch your show every day. Please cite this segment and just make sure you quote the fact that it's not me saying it. It's the Democrats' own advisors, senior guys like Carville saying, hey, man, just go for it. Just burn the country to the ground. And let me add some color to this. You ready? Let's put some muscle on the bone. They are going to frame it in one of the most repugnant acts of gaslighting you're ever going to see. They're going to frame this destruction of our country, adding Senate seats, packing the Supreme Court, wealth taxes, censorship. They're going to frame it as a battle for the future of democracy. Again, how do I know that? Because they're already doing it. Don't take my word for it. Here's Kamala Harris, the cackler. She's back on the scene. She's clearly running for president, okay? Can we just get that out of the way? The presidential 2028 race, folks, has already started. We're not through the midterms. It doesn't matter if we're through the midterms. He says, I hope she, yes, so we all hope. However, she is running. The presidential race has started whether you like it or not. We don't get to decide. The candidates do. She is running. Listen to the framing as she starts to reintroduce herself back to the political scene. They're going to frame this attack on democracy as a fight for democracy in a message and version like you've never seen before. Check this out.
We are dealing with the most corrupt, callous, and incompetent presidential administration in the history of the United States. Period.
Period, folks. This is a fight. They don't mention the fact that Donald Trump has cleaned up the corruption, reduced the federal workforce, held public officials accountable, ongoing investigations into Arctic frost and elsewhere, grand jury down in Florida. They don't mention any of that. They're going to invert this entire message. I'm going to go to that second Kamala video in a second. Can you go to Cory Booker first? I want to show you here. Cory Booker, who's noted for screaming and yelling all the time. He tries to take on this, kind of preacher-like tone. Again, like he's some savior of the republic. Here again, framing this as some kind of fight for democracy as they kick democracy square in the nuts. Check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a storm in our nation. There is darkness and wind. People are getting hurt. What we need is not from on high. We need foot soldiers of our democracy who in times of trial are willing to stand up. Will you stand for our democracy?
You hear it? Did you get it? Foot soldiers for democracy, folks. Now, it's fairly obvious this is the group that weaponized government, attacked democracy, and diminished the republic so much so that Donald Trump and his administration have had to engage in this cleanup job that still isn't even close to done. Listen to me, please. Come on. I'm like really begging you right now. Virginia today is a test.
Folks, it baffles me. I hate to stop this, but it baffles me the way these Democrats harp about, losing democracy. I wonder what they actually consider their democracy. I think they consider democracy as them in power. We do what they say and screw the rest of it. Because they are complaining about the exact same thing that they do. Donald Trump is trying to fix it. And they're complaining that he's doing what they did, which is not. Unbelievable. I can't believe that there are people out there that believe what these assholes are saying. It's remarkable. Okay, I'm sorry. I just had to get that off my chest.
The midterms are going to be a test. Folks, I get it. Listen, I'm just a dad and a guy. I don't have like superpowers or anything like that. I don't pretend to be better than anyone else. I'm just a guy. I grew up, my father I love my dad. He was a plumber. My mom worked in a supermarket. I wasn't born with money or, wasn't born to two Olympians who have PhDs. I was born to working class Americans who really care about the country. I'm not messing with you now. I don't like opening up the show with doom and gloom segments because I'm not a doomer, and I smile when I talk about liberty because it's worth talking about this country with a big ear-to-ear smile on. I'm telling you, however, we got to fight ahead. And when you look back at what our forefathers and our grandfathers and the founders of this country did and what they went through, whether it was the signers of the Declaration of Independence who knew there was a probably better than 50% chance they'd be hung if they didn't win an unwinnable war that we won against the British Empire, and you look at the fights we have now, you should talk about liberty with a smile because these fights are easy compared to what they went through. Look at who we're dealing with. We're dealing with a bunch of clowns. Cory Booker is a loser. He is an absolute zero. The guy went from one of these pseudo school choice advocates in a city who was struggling and then flipped the script the second he decided he was going to run for president. And then you got the cackler who's back. Kamala too. Here's it, the voice change. All the voice changes she does and the voice manipulation she does depending on the crowd. This is who's going to be, this was their nominee in 2024 who wants to get back on the scene in 2028. Here she goes. Here's Kamala too. So we'll refer to her now. Here she is back on the stage. There's Kamala and different. It's like Kamala 1 through 10. Here's Kamala 2. Notice how the voice changes in this speech. Check this out.
I think it's okay for us to be a bit transactional too. And to say, I'm going to get mine also. And so don't count on me to be a voter and be the backbone of the Democratic Party, because it is my value system and my ethics and my sense of civic duty and responsibility, so that you look at me and say, oh, they're going to vote.
Ladies and gentlemen, people hate inauthenticity, non-genuine, fake, phony, fraud behavior. They hate it. They hate it everywhere. I can think of a baseball player back in the day who was paid very well to pay for the Yankees. People couldn't stand him because even some Yankee fans, because they thought he was a fraud. People hate this stuff. I'm going to get she talks completely different. She reinvents herself in front of every crowd. Meanwhile, for as much as people can't stand Donald Trump and his discursive, very aggressive speaking style, guys, is he any different? I promise you, he's no different. He's talking to the Pope. He's talking to a civic group. He's in the Bronx or he's in Tuscaloosa, and he talks the exact same way every single time. And who are we running against? You probably saw this morning, but here's Democrat Senator Chris Murphy. This is not a fake tweet, by the way. Aggressively cheering on what he thinks is an Iranian victory in the Strait that's fake news. He quote tweets this. Ali Vaez puts out at least 26 Iranian shadow fleet vessels bypassed the U.S. blockade. There's no evidence that's actually true. Christopher Murphy, who is a Democrat United States Senator, tweets, this is not a joke. Awesome. Now, why would that surprise you? Folks, this is what's coming. We lose to these people, pack Supreme Court, packing the House of Representatives, packing the United States Senate, weaponization of government, censorship, wealth taxes. It's all back. Business getting crushed. It is, I'm telling you right now, this is the fight of our lives. You said that last night, Chris, because it's true. Here's Chris Murphy in 2022, same guy, arguing about how listing the IRGC, the Iranian Terror Death Squad, on the FTO designation list, foreign terror organization thing, that, yeah, we should consider taking them off because there's not much of an advantage to it. Christopher Murphy could have asked me and others the benefits of an FTO designation, like being able to take assets and other things like that when they're designated a terror group, but he's too stupid, or he hates the United States so much he really wants to see the Iranians win. Short clip, check it out.
Would you take the Iran's Revolutionary Guard off the terror list in order to get a deal?
Yes. I mean, the practical impact of designating them as a foreign terrorist organization is inconsequential. We have dozens of other terrorist designations on the IRGC that would remain.
I got an idea, Chris Murphy. Please stop being a dipshit. Here's an idea for you. Instead of calling for Kash Patel to resign because you're afraid of what's coming, I know what's going on, Chris. Okay, maybe you should go over there, get a briefing at FBI headquarters about what, in fact, an FTO, foreign terror organization listing, actually does. It's inconsequential? Please explain that to your constituents. Speak slowly for the slow ones, okay? And then if you would, we'll send one of the FBI CT counterterror people over there to explain what an FTO designation does to make you look like a buffoon in front of your peeps. Folks, it's coming. We got the fight of our lives on our hands. Fight it with a smile. Be happy warriors. It's a great country you're saving. But make no mistake, we got a real fight on our hands. It starts today in Virginia. I want you to watch the framing of this because I told you this. This is going to matter. Both the Virginia election today on the referendum, because they want to pack the House of Representatives, the Democrats, using Virginia. They are going to frame this as a fight for democracy, ironically, against what they call the anti-democratic Trump administration, who you've never seen a more democratic representative in the White House than Trump. He does more pressers than anyone. He's returning people's money, no tax on tips, tax refunds. What kind of a tyrant and fascist takes less people's money and gives it back to them? Money's control, money's power. What kind of fascist deregulates the government and takes power away from government? I'll never forget being told by a very brilliant politician before he died in Maryland that, ladies and gentlemen, government grows and regulations always grow. Why? Because there's no power in yes, he told me. You tell people yes, they don't need to come to you to kiss their ass to get away from a no to a yes. So they have to give you money and lobby you. Donald Trump does the opposite. He says, yes, we're going to deregulate. Yes, Ibogaine. Yes, all these others. We're not going to make us the middleman anymore. What kind of fascist monarch is that? Gives you back more of your money and more of your power? If this guy's a fascist, he's the worst one ever. They are going to frame this as a fight for democracy. I want you to watch the rather grotesque Eric Holder, an embarrassment to the Justice Department when he was there. The mess we had to clean up from him and Derek Farland and others was just disgusting when we were there. Here's Eric Holder talking about the referendum in Virginia today. I want you to watch the framing. Listen, it's about 30 seconds, but it's worth every second of this. This is how they're going to do it. When the GOP gerrymanders, they're, quote, stealing seats. When the Democrats engage in gerrymandering on Diana Ball, far worse than the GOP's done, they're just doing something to make the system fair. Listen to the framing right here. And amazingly, like, the hosts keep falling for this willingly. Check this out.
Historically, the president's party doesn't usually do well in the midterm races. So why do Democrats need to do this? I mean, it sounds like it's acknowledging that the Democratic Party can't win on its own, that it has to go through these measures.
Democrats can certainly win if it's a fair fight. And the question I have...
It wasn't going to be a fair fight in Virginia?
No, it wasn't going to be a fair fight nationally if you try to steal seats in Texas, in North Carolina, and in Missouri. And so the question I have for people who are critical of that which we're doing is, what were we supposed to do? Nothing? Just allow them to try to stack the deck, to try to steal seats? And all we're trying to do is meet them and try to make the system as fair as it possibly can be. And that's all that this is about.
So notice, Maybe didn't notice. That's the thing. I don't know. Well, how about notice this? When the Republican states gerrymander their states, which does happen, it's stealing seats. When Virginia does it and takes it to the next level with the most grotesque gerrymander in the country. I saw something this morning. The majority of the Virginia delegation are going to be located within a radius of 15 miles in Northern Virginia for the entire state. The entire state. You're supposed to have representatives that represent your interests. Have you ever been to Virginia? You think Northern Virginia resembles Western Virginia and Southern Virginia? Have you ever been there? You're not even going to be able to find your representative. They're all in Northern Virginia, clustered with all the Democrats. It's stealing seats when the GOP doesn't. At least be honest and say, well, we're stealing seats too. We're stealing back. I don't agree with it. However, I'd respect you more. I have zero respect for this guy.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this here. I'm 27 minutes into this hour and 13-minute video. I will include this in my daily news wrap-up. But let's jump over here, clicking on the Rumble link, and show you that this video does come from the Dan Bongino show. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. Again, these Democrats, I can't believe how they can lie with just a straight face. Either that or they're just like in Bizarro land. I don't get it. Okay, ACLJ, American Center for Law and Justice. Mamdani targets luxury home owners. This is amazing. Just keep voting Democrat. You know, you people in you Democrat cities and states.
The camera saying, it's tax day, everybody. Guess what we're doing? We're going to start taxing the rich, as I said we were going to do. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand in front of a home, private property of someone. I'm a billionaire who paid over $200 million for his penthouse. I'm going to call the guy out by name. Some of this paying already absorbent property taxes and just investing in the city without, by the way, using any of this. It's the fact that he's never here. So without putting any stress on the city, not using any of public utilities, any public transport, just essentially sinking money into your city, saying we're going to make them not only pay their fair share, we're going to make them pay so much more, and does it with delight. I mean, again, it's all the messaging you thought was going to come from him has come even more and more. And look, he's a gifted speaker, a gifted orator. I've said it in the beginning, great at social media. If you try to downplay that, I think you're blind, because it's just simply not true. He's there with Barack Obama this weekend, reading to kids in one of these student center. You may not like it, but he's good at these kind of things. And he does resonate with people. Now, if you've been to New York City recently, and I think of New York City, as he said, one of the greatest cities in the world. I agree with him. That'd probably be the one thing we agree on. I believe this is one of the greatest cities in the world, and I think it needs to be protected really at all costs. And when you saw what happened to this great city over the last 10 years or so, you have seen really a really chaotic and catastrophic change in that city.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who share their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live there. But even so, they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world. And most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since again, they don't actually live here.
This proposal that is going to put a heavy tax on what, according to their own press release, they call the ultra wealthy and global elites. So one, they're already starting to use some of the language that conservatives have used for a long time, the global elites, that kind of angle. That's what they're framing it as. And two, they're letting this person, and this will be 8 random from the inside. Do you still believe in democratic socialism? Byte 14.
You've bumped up against the hard realities of a $5.4 billion budget shortfall and the other red tape that you have to go through. Do you still believe in democratic socialism? Do you still think it can be effective?
I believe in it even more than I did the day before. And that's because of the fact that it is focused on the needs of working people, and working people need that focus, that fight from politicians more than ever.
You would think that getting into government, seeing the red tape, as she calls it, seeing the bureaucracy would make you be like, oh, maybe I can become more pragmatic. No, he's saying he believes in democratic socialism even more. The entire tax structure of the United States and in New York,
He wasn't going to say
as
no.
well. Well, sure. But at the same time, he is still going for these policies and trying to push this tax on the ultra wealthy global elites, as he says. But the origins of our tax code, even the first income tax, was only targeting the rich. It was only targeting what people that made $90,000 to $100,000 in that day's money. So it was around $3,000 to $4,000 in 1913, which is insane to think about, the inflation and monetary policy we've had over 113 years. But still, it was the top earners had a 1% tax on their income. And then there was a surtax if you made what was the today's equivalent of $15 million. And it was supposed to stop at that. But tax policy tends to creep downwards. And here in New York, the top 1% of earners in New York, the top 1%, the ultra wealthy, the global elites that they're talking about, they pay 46% of the income taxes. So all of the tax money that's brought in, 46% is paid by 1%. And yet they're saying, we got to tax the rich. We got to tax the rich. No, you do. But what happens? You start there and it trickles down. And slowly, then everyone's going to end up getting this. And here's the questions I have about this legislation they're putting forward. Because if you don't, it says, if you don't live in our city and if you have a property worth over $5 million, you're going to get hit with this tax. But yet they're trying to make it more affordable for people. Is there a provision that says if your landlord lives in New Jersey, right across the Hudson, and owns a 1 to 3 family home, a 3-family home is going to be worth more than $5 million in New York City, just existing. Is your rent going to go up? Because they're probably going to have to charge that surcharge tax.
Someone's going to pay for it.
On your landlord.
Go try to travel to New York. Go try to have an affordable vacation. It simply is not really in the cards anymore. You go to a Broadway show, a first-run Broadway show, you're going to be spending upwards of $300 a ticket. And that is if you're going to something that's not all that popular. It will go up and up from there. It is not the place you go to if you can afford or if you can't afford it. Now, is there a housing crisis there? Has there always been an issues there with income, let's say, disparity, where people are not making enough money to live in the city? Yes, that has been a problem in New York City, probably since the dawn of New York City.
New York is an interesting state because once you get out of the city, you do have very conservative areas of the state, like some of the most conservative. Yeah. And when you look at that in the contrast of how quickly he was able to get the governor on board for this, because of all the things he wants to spend money on, there's going to be a $5.4 billion shortfall in the city's finances, that they had to find a way to raise more money. This is at a time where, as I mentioned earlier, the top 1% of New Yorkers pay 46% of the income taxes in New York City.
People have done similar things like this. They have targeted what you would say are the extremely wealthy people in society. And look, I understand that's a pretty easy target for a lot of people that are suffering, or a lot of people middle class who are in need to go, okay, I'm not going to have a care for someone that can afford a $200 million apartment. I don't care what they get. There's an easy disconnect there for the mass majority of people. But I think what's different, instead of using words like high income earners or people that have done this, it's saying elites. It's saying, the rich. It's demonizing people who have, either had incredible business success, or have done things in this country, probably employ thousands of people. There's a demonization of that we need to be very well aware of. Okay, it's obviously anti-capitalist, and we know that's where he stands. But when it comes to the situation at hand, he's calling someone out by name. He's calling a CEO out by name. We know what happened to even people on the streets of New York. Okay, when you had someone that one of the larger financial institutions. What happens? Gets gunned down in the street. You start playing with fire very quickly.
Yep, that's the Democrats for you. Just keep voting Democrats, okay? Just keep voting for those Democrats. Everything seems to run wonderful under Democrats. Unbelievable. Let me click on this Rumble link. This is a video I shared with you from American Center for Law and Justice. I've given them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here and see what Doug in Exile has to say on subpoena sent for ex-CIA Director Brennan. That sounds like fun.
Looks like John Brennan would be the first arrests when coming out of that Florida issue. This is from Julie Kelly. First, welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the Happy Patriots are. We are trying to give you accurate, clear information on what cases are going forward, which Pam Bondi started and now someone else is going to take over and continue with. And it does look like this week there's an acceleration of that. This is according to Julie Kelly, CBS News reporting accelerated activity into Russiagate investigation. She's quoting this CBS article, so I just went to the source here. And of course, guys, don't forget to thumbs up, leave a comment. Subscribe if you haven't joined us yet. Here's the headlines at CBS. Cooperating witnesses in criminal probe of ex-CIA Director Brennan subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury, sources say. Former Senate Intelligence FBI officials who are cooperating with the U.S. Justice Department's criminal probe into whether former CIA Director John Brennan lied to Congress, which he very much did. I don't believe that's even in question. It's just a matter of us getting him in front of a grand jury. Whether if he lied to Congress, we're subpoenaed the weekend to testify before a grand jury in Washington, D.C. Multiple sources familiar with the matter told CBS News. So a grand jury subpoenaed to testify in Washington, D.C. If there are a bunch of Democratic grand juries, nothing will come of this. Because as I said, it has nothing to do with the AG being swapped out, Pam Bondi or the next guy. The system in Washington, D.C. is still corrupt. So it has to take place in Florida. The subpoenas went out shortly after the Justice Department appointed conservative Trump ally Joe DiGenova to formally take over the criminal investigation into Brennan after the career prosecutor handled the case was removed last week. So a different prosecutor, I don't remember their name, before DiGenova got moved on to something else last week. DiGenova is a staunch loyalist of President Trump who previously represented his campaign in its failed efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. So these are all just right-leaning attorneys that Trump is getting on board. The cooperating witnesses are scheduled to appear before the grand jury as soon as this week. Remember, you cannot get an arrest without a grand jury first, without a trial first. So when arrests? Well, it'll be after a judge agrees to go along with the results of the trial that a grand jury has agreed to look at. How about that for a chain of events? Many of them have been cooperating with the probe. So that's good. They're already going along with being cooperative. And we're already scheduled to sit down for interviews with FBI agents and prosecutors before the new grand jury subpoenas came out over the weekend. So even before that weekend, Pam Bondi had been doing a lot of work on this, getting them moving. The decision to abruptly reschedule the voluntary interviews from cooperators and ask for in-person grand jury testimony is unusual, legal experts told CBS. So this is unusually faster, which is good news for our side that there's some movement here. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Here is John Solomon over at Just the News.
700 pages of Crossfire Hurricane documents, unredacted and declassified. These are the documents President Trump intended to be released in January 2021, but the FBI scooped them up, kept them from going to public release. We sued, tried to fight for them. Donald Trump came back into office and he released them a second time. And today they got to Congress and then they ended up in the hands of Just the News. We're going to tell you about one right now. Perhaps the most important thing in the documents that we found early on. One of the two informants that were used by the FBI to spy or to on Donald Trump and his campaign was named Stephen Halper. He's not the most famous. Christopher Steele, the guy that wrote the dossier, he's the most famous. But Stephen Halper was used quite a bit by the FBI. In fact, he was used for 3 decades by the FBI, and it turns out snitching is a pretty lucrative profession. He got paid nearly $1.2 million by the FBI to be a confidential human source from the late 90s or from the early 1990s.
So these are professional guys like the Steele dossier. These are professional snitches. That means they're left-wing grifters. But that's not the whistleblower that we're going after. We're going to go after Brennan. I believe Brennan is going to be crystal clear, that case against him. Here's CNN on Kash Patel is suing the Atlantic for $250 million for saying he's a drunk.
Absence. CNN chief media analyst Brian Stelter is here in the Situation Room. So what do we know about this lawsuit, Brian?
Yeah, this defamation lawsuit charges the Atlantic with actual malice and seeks $250 million in damages. Patel vowed to sue in the hours before this article came out on Friday. Now, this morning, his lawyers are filing this lawsuit in D.C. and really, performing what...
Okay, guys, the lawsuit is in D.C. The defamation lawsuit is in D.C. I'll give you one guess. No matter who the prosecutor is, no matter who the attorney general is, it could be Pam Bondi, it could be Bill Paxton, it could be, I'm trying to find the greatest names, Jeanine Pirro. This case for Kash Patel, suing them for defamation, $250 million. Does Kash Patel win in Washington, D.C., with a Democrat-appointed judge and a Democrat jury? I'll let you figure it out. Then you can go blame the AG. It has nothing to do with the attorney general. Has nothing to do with how strong the case is either. Flat out. Period. That is the truth on the ground, guys. And by the way, the only way that you get the right judges in place is if John Thune gets the 100 judges that he's trying to get through approved. That's the only way, is John Thune. And he's not blocking the judges. He's one of the few trying to get them through, while the rest of Congress is saying, we won't even allow you to get them through unless you agree to pass the SAVE Act first. You see how complicated this is? Here's U.S. Attorney Redding Quinones. Joseph DeGenova has been sworn in as counselor to the Attorney General in the U.S. Department of Justice. That's Todd Blanche that he'll be serving under, stepping into a senior advisory role on key legal, policy, and enforcement matters down in Florida, with decades of experience, including serving as U.S. Attorney General for D.C. under Ronald Reagan. So this guy's solid. DeGenova brings deep expertise in federal prosecution and high-stakes investigations, praised by U.S. Attorney Jason A. Redding Quinones for his leadership and judgment. He will help advance the department's mission to protect Americans, enforce the rule of law, and ensure impartial justice. So this is a new guy we've got in there, and that's what we're all hoping for right there. And then finally, I have this Marsha Blackburn. She says it's absolutely laughable to claim the policies were absent from Biden's FBI, given that what we know, this is about Arctic frost. Americans want to see people responsible for Arctic frost, Jack Smith, indicted and put on trial. First and foremost, Jack Smith must take the stand before the Senate. Agreed.
Here's Senator Marsha Blackburn pressing one former FBI agent.
Are you okay with it being weaponized to go after conservatives? Does that suit you? Did you think that was a justifiable use of taxpayer money and time?
Senator, absolutely not. And let me just tell you, politics in the FBI workspace are absent. Nobody understands or knows.
That is a filthy lie. This guy, look at him, bold-faced, just told her there's no politics in the FBI, which is what all of this is about. We know there is. It's been proven like 10 times.
Absent?
Or care.
Do you want to own that statement? No, it's my time. Ms. Cleveland, what do you have to say about that?
That's laughable.
It is laughable.
It is absolutely laughable that it has no place after everything we saw with Crossfire Hurricane, after what we're starting to see in the Arctic frost from the prohibitive files. It might be that you worked with the very few who are not political, but it is replete everywhere.
Yes. And now new questions about special counsel Jack Smith over alleged ties to judges in Trump-related cases, including Obama appointee Judge Beryl Howell. Let's bring in the senator you just saw, Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, member of the Senate Judiciary Committee and candidate for Tennessee governor as well. What is the bottom line you're hoping to get to here? Senator.
What we would like to do is have our discovery in these hearings, including the one that I chaired, lead us to Jack Smith coming before us and putting him under oath and holding him to account.
Well, the Congress might put him under oath, but they are not going to hold him to account. Did you hear that? Judge was tied to Jack Smith. That's why in Washington, D.C., ain't nothing going to happen that's going to ever benefit a Republican in the legal system. The legal system's so corrupt. It is so politicized. Only Democrats will get what they want. Republicans will never get what they want. That's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong and justice happens and people are decent human beings, but we're counting on Democrats being decent. It won't work. I'm Doug.
Okay. He's right. It won't work because Democrats are not decent. And they prove it every day, incidentally. All right, this video does come from Doug in Exile. I'm subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right. Hey, Susie Poll 2016. Nice to see you. And it's okay. It's okay. Hello, how you doing? All right, let's jump down here and see what Wendy Bell has to say is down to the wire. All right, let's check it out.
You know, I've made choices. I decided not to go back home. California wasn't for me. I didn't like it when I was there. There was something different about it. I wanted something else. And so I left. And I never went back. I'm grateful to live in Pittsburgh. I can be around my husband's family, his parents, who I love dearly, his siblings, but for more than twice the age I was when I left home at 18, that's how long I've lived away. And I've missed out on an awful lot. I can't change that. And I'm trying not to make myself feel guilty. But on this day, as I touch my mom's ring on my hand, I know she knows. I know she knows that even though I'm so far away, I loved her so much. You know, it's wild when you have an epiphany or a moment where you walk into another chapter of your life, whether you asked for it or not. There's responsibility that comes with that. And there are a couple of those stories today, the way I'm taking responsibility for the decisions I made where I lived. I chose not to be there. There are a couple people, though, who've come out recently and they've had their own epiphany. And I think it's a very unusual thing, particularly this one instance. When somebody realizes that what they thought they were supporting or what they thought was important to them, in fact, was not. Or that they somehow along the way, the thing that they cared about changed, either in itself or in their mind. Alan Dershowitz is so interesting to me today to say this to you, as our country is really so weirdly polarized, but it's really not. I really don't think we are. I don't think that if I were to sit down with a liberal woman of my age and I said to her, I'm a conservative woman, I bet you we have a lot in common. There might be some policy things that might be important to her or me that isn't shared to the other. But we all want what's best for our children. We all want safety. We all want opportunity. We all want affordable taxes and a comfortable life. We all want healthy lives and futures that are worth looking forward to. That's not determined by your politics. For somebody like Alan Dershowitz to write an article in the Wall Street Journal hours ago, and I saw it just before we went on the air, this is a big deal. And it says a lot about the sharp left turn of the Democrat Party. You can't look at this progressive craziness that's going on that invites you, in fact, it insists that everything that you think is normal is now all of a sudden abnormal, wrong, and you need to fundamentally change everything that you've ever thought. That's not what the majority of us are all about. Alan Dershowitz writes in this opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal, "Why I'm Becoming a Republican." Alan Dershowitz, lifelong Democrat. He said, "I started campaigning for my party's local candidates as a teenager in Brooklyn, New York. I've been a registered Democrat for 67 years, made speeches for JFK as a college student, and can count on one hand the number of Republicans I've ever supported for any office. I still disagree strongly with the GOP on abortion, the separation of church and state, immigration, healthcare, and taxes, among other things. Yet I've decided to bite the bullet and register as a Republican." What? The Democratic Party, Alan Dershowitz writes, has become the most anti-Israel party in U.S. history. Last week, all but 7 Senate Democrats voted for an arms embargo against the Jewish state, and an avowed enemy of Israel, Abdul El-Sayed, is gaining ground in the Democratic campaign for U.S. Senator from Michigan. There's no denying that the hard left anti-Israel wing of the Democratic Party has moved from the fringe to the mainstream. This is where his awakening comes, that change. Until recently, there was an age gap with younger voters more strongly opposing Israel, but recent polls suggest that the trend now includes Democrats of all ages. Republicans have their own anti-Semitic fringe, but for now, it remains a fringe. I believe that the Democratic Party's hostility to Israel represents a deeper and more dangerous shift away from the center and toward a radical approach that is bad for America and it's bad for the free world. So I intend to work hard. Listen to this. He didn't just snap. He snapped and got active. And he's like, look, I intend to work hard to prevent the Democrats from gaining control of the House and Senate. And I urge those who share my concerns about the increasing influence of radicalism in the Democratic Party to vote, campaign, and contribute for continued Republican control of Congress. I will contribute money to Republican candidates. I will campaign for them, make speeches at Republican events, and urge pro-Israel Americans to change party affiliation or at least vote against Democrats. Until something changes, I will vote Republican for representative, senator, and president. That is huge, ladies and gentlemen. That is but one person realizing, having an awakening. And I think it's happening all over. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, we're going to dip into the archives. It is a video of President Trump, actually before I believe he was sworn in the first time, talking about why. Why was he running? You need to hear this next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Wow. What?
All right,
what
my fifth one. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. That's why I share Wendy Bell, because
Bell Radio.
she comes up with great stuff.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. So Alan Dershowitz dropping this bomb on the Wall Street Journal's opinion piece, saying he's changing. He's going to become a Republican. He didn't tempt with the toe in the libertarian pond. He's like, no, I want to vote for the party that I believe is going to stop this radical fringe Democrat party. He says, I wish I could designate myself as a foreign policy Republican, but there's no such option. So I have to go whole hog by registering as a Republican rather than an independent, Maybe I can have some influence on moving some Republican policies toward the center. I've given up trying to change the Democratic Party. My main goal is to send a message that many traditional Democratic voters can't accept what it is becoming, a replica of a left-wing European party that is hurting its country. What? Americans generally tend toward political moderation, but both parties have become more extreme, in part due to low turnout primaries that attract passionate ideologues. Younger voters who tend to be more extreme are playing a more active role in politics. They may moderate as they get older, but the trend among Democrats is unmistakable. A hard left turn that is most evident in changing attitudes towards Israel. If the Democrats pay a heavy electoral price, perhaps they'll wise up and move back to the center where I and others could rejoin it. I don't know if that is a realistic possibility, but it's worth a try. This is such a big deal. I cannot underscore. It's like Sean Hannity last week announcing that he's not Catholic anymore. He's like, I can't support the Catholic Church. I'm a Christian, but I'm not Catholic anymore. I can't deal with the corruption of the Catholic Church. This is where people are awakening. Now, I want you to hear President Trump. It had to be when he just won 2016, okay? It has to be because he's got a Trump Pence sign in front of him. And he's the same guy 10 years ago with the same mission, the same values, the same strategy. He has not changed. I have. This guy is a brick wall. Here's President Trump 10 years ago.
In my former life, I was an insider as much as anybody else. And I knew what it's like, and I still know what it's like to be an insider. It's not bad, not bad. Now I'm being punished for leaving the special club and revealing to you the terrible things that are going on having to do with our country. Because I used to be part of the club, I'm the only one that can fix it. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again. Many of my friends and many political experts warned me that this campaign would be a journey to hell. Said that. But they're wrong. It will be a journey to heaven because we will help so many people that are so desperately in need of help. Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt, and when I say corrupt, I'm talking about totally corrupt, political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. Believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefit of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. The corrupt political establishment is a machine. It has no soul. I knew these false attacks would come. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. We are going to have a policy, America first.
He has been unwavering, and he knew darn well what he was walking into. But that one moment when he ran and hugged the American flag and kissed it, that all day long. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, my friends, Iran thinks this is a game of endurance But the United States military says not so fast. What's going on in Iran, the peace deal, all of it next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, well, we're going to pause that there. I want to click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And folks, let me go ahead while we're here and copy the live chats in. It's not too much chatting today. Okay, let me slide down here and put that in a comment so it will be a permanent part of this video. And these videos that I've shared with you are videos that come directly from the producer's channel. Here in the description box, let's jump over here. Okay, here in the description box, I've copied the chats into a comment right there. Those are the live chats. All right, the videos that I have shared with you are videos that come directly from the producer. I have the links to the videos that I've shared with you in the description box, along with a link to the producer's channel in the description box in the event that you want to check out other information that they have. Also, the videos that I've shared with you here are videos that I've posted on Mertech.com, where I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. Here's the Wendy Bell video that I shared with you. Here's the Doug in Exile video that I shared with you. Here's the American Center for Law and Justice video and the Dan Bongino video. It's a free site. I don't ask for your name. I don't ask for your email address. I don't drop cookies on your computer or have a bunch of ads popping up in your face. So it's a free site. You're pretty much anonymous when you come here. You don't need to surf the internet. I've done that for you to provide you with no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. Now, I'd like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do so. But that's why I've put together my Mertech Daily News Wrap-Up. Okay? Says I have 24 videos in here. We're going to start off with Wendy Bell Radio, right where we left off a moment ago. And then Dan Bongino, where we left off. Got this in here from Benny Johnson, and Anthony Brian Logan has this information too. Another take on this. Superstar Democrat just quit Congress in shock resignation. It's over. X22 report, We the People News, Anthony Brian Logan. Here we go. Democrat Rep Sheila McCormick finally quits after stealing $5 million. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad. I probably would. I could retire on $5 million because I am retired and I don't have $5 million. So yeah, I could retire on $5 million. Black Conservative Perspective, Devoy Darkins, Dr. Steve Turley, McWater's Effect, News for Reasonable People, On the Fringe. A lot of great information here, folks, so you don't want to miss this. But go ahead and take a break right now. Grab a cup of coffee and a donut, or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, and or maybe a glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes to get this set up in Rumble Studio so that we can get this going. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless. Bye.